Have you ever opened your heart, exposed your soul, thinking someone would finally get it, only to be met with a blank stare and a crooked smile that said, "That dream's too big for someone like you"? You walk away feeling empty, like the fire inside you was quietly extinguished, not with insults, but with silence sharp enough to wound. And the worst part? Deep down, you knew. Your instincts screamed for you to stay quiet. But you spoke anyway, because some part of you still hoped to be believed in. Have you ever felt that sting? The sting of being vulnerable with the wrong person, pouring your heart out only to realize you just handed a weapon to someone who was never on your side. They didn't kill your dream with words. They did it with a glance, a shift in energy, that subtle shake of the head that whispered, "Lower your voice, lower your hopes." You walk away carrying a silence that weighs more than any insult. It's the silence that follows betrayal, not by strangers, but by people you thought might understand. That hollow ache. Like your vision just got shackled, your light dimmed, all because you opened up too soon in front of those who would rather see you small than see you rise. And the bitter truth? You saw it coming. Your gut told you to stop. But your mouth kept moving, craving connection, begging to be heard. They weren't listening to lift you. They were listening to dissect you. They weren't drawn to your truth. They were hunting for your cracks. For every ounce of belief you spilled, they poured back a gallon of doubt. That's how power leaks. Not in explosions, but in drops. Drops that slip out of lips that should have stayed sealed. We live in a time where oversharing is worshipped, where silence is mistaken for weakness, and people confuse vulnerability with invitation. But true Stoicism, it's not about being cold. It's about being impenetrable. It's about guarding your flame like it's the last one burning. Because not every gaze that watches you is a blessing. Sometimes the ones watching closest are hoping you fail. You think you're venting. They think you're slipping. You call it trust. They see a target, and before you know it, your confidence is cracked, your vision blurred, and your masterpiece, what was once sacred, becomes a ghost. So next time that urge rises in you to speak, pause, bite your tongue, let the fire build in silence, move like smoke, strike like lightning behind closed doors. Let your actions echo so loud the world hears, thunder without ever seeing the storm coming. Speak after the victory, not before the war. Because what they don't know, they can't ruin. What they don't see, they can't sabotage. And what they can't feel, they can't kill. If you've ever felt that deep regret after sharing too much, if your own words have come back to haunt you, this is your wake-up call. Stop throwing your vision to those who feed off your doubt. Stop letting hollow souls sip from the depths of your spirit. No more explaining your fire to people who don't even believe in sparks. If you've ever betrayed yourself by oversharing, let this be the moment you say, enough. Move in silence. Build like a ghost. Carry a storm behind your stillness. And for those who've been stabbed just for being real, for the quiet. Warriors out there, building empires with mouths closed and hearts blazing, this one's for you. Let them sleep on you. Let them think you've disappeared. But when you return, let your silence be the thing that haunts them. Sometimes the greatest power isn't in what you say, but in what you withhold. And as we explored in the last part, when you speak too soon, you often trade your strength for scraps of validation. Energy leaks when you speak too soon. There's a silence so profound, it rumbles louder than rage. Very few people carry that kind of silence because very few have the strength to handle it. It's the stillness of a grounded man. A man who understands he doesn't owe the world his reactions. A man who knows that just because something stings doesn't mean it deserves sound. That silence isn't empty, it's loaded. It's power wrapped in patience. But most people will never taste it because they're intoxicated by noise. Too quick to defend their pride, they confuse chaos with courage. The moment something grazes their ego, they react. Words erupt, not with focus, but with fear. Not from clarity, but from desperation. It's not a true response. It's a rupture, a leak of energy, composure, and self-respect. They interrupt, they over-explain, they rush to speak. And in that exact moment, they lose their edge. You can see it in their breathing, in their trembling hands. They've shifted from presence to performance, and all of it to avoid the one thing they fear most, silence. Because when you speak too quickly, you strip away the weight your silence once carried. What could have lingered like mystery becomes noise. What should have been observed gets explained. What should have remained hidden gets exposed. And just like that, the spell breaks. The moment is no longer yours. You're not leading. Yispash, you're chasing it. Marcus Aurelius, the Stoic emperor who ruled not with impulse but with inner command, once wrote, "Don't waste what remains of your life in speculating about others." But let's stretch that even further. Don't waste what remains of your breath reacting to things unworthy of your voice. Don't spill your spirit defending yourself to people who've already decided who you are. Don't shatter your silence just because someone else couldn't sit with theirs. Stoicism is not about bottling your emotions. It's about building command over them. It's about becoming a fortress, not a flood. And your mouth? It's one of your main gates. Leave it wide open and chaos walks right in. Guard it. And you guard your entire kingdom. When a Stoic speaks, it's not to feel better. It's to do better, to bring clarity, to bring closure, to place a stone on the moment and say, this is where it ends. Not to beg, not to soothe, not to scramble for approval. And have you ever noticed, after you speak too fast, too emotionally, too soon, that ache in your chest, that twist in your gut? That's not just regret. That's truth trying to shake you awake. That's your spirit telling you, you gave them something they didn't earn. You broke your posture. You dulled your edge. Because silence is not weakness. Silence is tactical. It's spiritual. And when wielded by a Stoic mind, it's a blade sharper than any scream. It doesn't need a sheath. It doesn't even need permission. It simply is. So let them talk. Let them squirm in the tension you refuse to ease. Let them try to fill the silence they cannot understand. It is not your job to comfort their chaos. Your only job is to master your own. Because the more heat you can sit in without flinching, the more untouchable you become. You stop being someone they can predict and start becoming someone they can't stop watching. And when you do finally speak, after all that stillness, it won't just be heard, it'll be felt, it'll linger, it'll haunt, because it won't be spoken from panic. It will come from precision. And that kind of presence, that kind of calm power, it echoes long after the moment ends. Marcus Aurelius didn't shout to lead Rome. He wrote his wisdom in silence. He carried the weight of an empire Without noise, true power doesn't shout. It waits. It moves in silence, strikes with precision, and leaves no room for doubt. And as we just explored, when your words are backed by restraint, they hit harder than noise ever could. Marcus Aurelius practiced composure like a daily ritual. He knew that real power doesn't beg to be seen. It doesn't explain itself. It simply ends what needs ending, quietly, decisively. That's why your silence should be your shield, your breath, your boundary. And when your voice does rise, let it carry the weight of discipline, not desperation. Because anyone can yell, anyone can react. But it takes a grounded man, a true Stoic, to speak like a god and move like a ghost. So don't waste your thunder on raindrops. Let it gather, let it burn. Then strike with force that no one saw coming. 2. Most people pretend to support you, but they're just watching. Let's be brutally honest. Most people aren't really in your corner. They're not cheering for you to win. They're watching, waiting, hoping to see you slip. And the chilling part? They do it with a smile on their face, with fake applause, with surface-level compliments, with words that sound like encouragement, but feel hollow when you listen closely. Deep down, many of them aren't rooting for your rise. They're preparing to say, "I told you so," the moment you fall. But they won't sabotage you openly. No, their methods are far more subtle. They'll distract you. They'll offer just enough support to keep you second-guessing. They'll keep you in a fog, just enough for you to believe they're on your side. They'll give you that soft clap, that empty cheer, just enough to feed the illusion. But the moment pressure hits, the moment your path turns uphill, they'll be the first to highlight your flaws, poke holes in your dreams, undermine every step you take with veiled doubt. Seneca once said, "It's not that we have a short time to live, but that we waste a lot of it." And that's exactly what these people do. They waste your time with fake support, with empty applause. They fill your head with hesitation, with questions that were never yours to begin with. But here's the hard truth. You're letting them. You're letting their quiet judgments echo in your mind. You're letting their whispers twist your confidence. You're starting to wonder if maybe they're right, but they're not. It's a lie, a strategy, a quiet tactic to keep you off balance, to keep you distracted, to keep you from discovering just how powerful you really are. So often, it's not the loudest critics who break you. It's the quiet ones, the ones who smile, nod, and pretend they're on your side, while silently hoping you fall. Their sabotage is subtle. Their claps, just camouflage. And every time you chase their approval, you hand them your power. Every single moment you seek their validation is a moment stolen from your purpose. Let me tell you a story. A friend of mine had a vision, clear, bold, burning. She dreamed of building something that would have changed her life and countless others. The blueprint was there. The spark was alive. She shared it, hoping to inspire belief. She told her family. She told her friends. And for a moment, they applauded. They said all the right things. "That's amazing. You're going to do great. We believe in you." But behind closed doors, it was a different story. They whispered, they mocked, they laughed, not at the idea, but at her. They said she was naive, too ambitious, that the dream was too wild, too risky, too impossible. And slowly, their voices sank into her bones. Doubt, like a slow-working poison, crept in, She started to second-guess everything. What if they're right, she wondered. What if I'm not ready? What if I fail? And before she even began, she stopped. She gave up before launch day. Her dream didn't die because it failed. It died because she let them kill it, quietly and directly, through doubt disguised as care. And then, what happened? Someone else, someone with the same idea, built it, lived it, succeeded. They did exactly what she was too afraid to do, not because they were better, not because they had more resources, but because they didn't let other people's fears override their own conviction. This is what happens when you let other people's voices be louder than your own. When you confuse fake support with real encouragement, when you allow their limited thinking to rewrite your story. Seneca warned us we suffer more often in imagination than in reality. Her suffering wasn't the result of failure. It was the result of a false narrative planted by people pretending to cheer. She imagined herself incapable, when in truth, she was ready all along. So what's the lesson here? Do not let anyone else define your worth. Do not let shallow praise trick you into thinking you need their permission to be great. Your success doesn't need their applause. It doesn't require their blessing. It will speak for itself, louder, clearer, and more violently than any words ever could. Until you make it, stay quiet. Let your silence build pressure. Let your work gather force. And when it's time, let your results erupt like thunder. Because in the end, success isn't just achievement, it's the most brutal form of revenge. Let them smile. Let them doubt. Let them watch. Let them wait. While they whisper, while they doubt, while they mock. In the shadows, let them wait. Because your silence, it's not weakness. It's the quiet before the quake. Your success is coming, and when it does, it won't knock. It'll break the door down. It'll shatter their low expectations. It'll crush their subtle cynicism. It'll prove every last one of them wrong. You don't need their approval. You never did. All you need is the fire in your chest, the will to keep building, and the courage to ignore the noise. Your future? It's not out there waiting for applause. It's waiting for your next move. Forney, your silence builds mystery, and a mystery is magnetic. In a world that's constantly shouting, the quiet ones become unforgettable. When everyone's trying to be seen, silence turns heads. Not the silence of fear or surrender, but the silence of control, of presence, of intention. Want to stand out in a world drowning in noise? Then speak less, move smarter. Let your energy whisper what your words never need to explain. Be like the calm before a storm, steady, distant, and impossible to ignore. You don't have to scream to be heard. You just have to move with such quiet conviction that the world holds its breath. When you step forward, when you move, the ripple will be felt. Because true power doesn't need a spotlight, it radiates. Epictetus didn't broadcast his strength. He didn't declare war on mediocrity. He simply refused to play small. He understood. Power lives in what you withhold, in what you let people wonder about. In the restraint to say less and let the world lean in, people think volume equals authority, but legacy, that belongs to the ones who don't shout, but scar. The quiet ones, the ones who leave a mark without needing to explain how they did it. Mystery is magnetic. When people can't figure you out, when they don't know what you're thinking, where you're headed, or what's coming next, they become obsessed. This isn't a game. This is psychological warfare. Mental, emotional, strategic. You don't have to chase attention. Let it chase you. Let them scroll, stalk, speculate. Let them refresh their feed wondering where you are. Let them itch for an update that never comes. Because that's your leverage. The longer you stay silent, the louder your presence becomes. They crave an answer. You give them mystery. They want access. You give them distance. And suddenly they need you more than ever. Yet they can't reach you. That's power. I once knew someone who embodied this perfectly. He never posted, never shared, never spoke about what he was building. For years it looked like he disappeared. No signs, no noise, just silence. But what no one saw were the sleepless nights, the grind behind closed doors, the relentless building. He created space, years of it, and filled it with action no one could track. Then one day, he launched, quietly. No flashy announcement, no viral campaign, just results. And in 24 hours, his product sold out. 6 figures, gone in a single day. No one saw it coming, not because he was invisible, but because he made silence his strategy. It wasn't the product that stunned them. It wasn't even the brilliance of the plan. It was the impact of all that quiet, building, waiting, tightening, until it exploded. That's the real storm, the one you never see coming, the one that brews in the dark while everyone else is distracted by the noise. And when it hits, it doesn't just land, it levels everything in its path. That is the true power of silence. It builds, it ferments, it sharpens, and when it finally arrives, they won't know what hit them. Silence, as we've seen, isn't about hiding. It's about holding. It's not weakness, it's mastery. It's the deepest form of control. When you hold back, when you resist the urge to reveal, you don't just create suspense. You create gravity. You make people lean in. You make them wonder, chase, speculate. And when you finally move, they'll never see it coming. They won't forget it either, because power that arrives without a warning, that's the kind that shakes the ground. Speaking too soon invites unnecessary pressure. It feels innocent at first. You speak your goals out loud, to stay motivated, to be held accountable, to manifest something into the world. And for a moment it feels good, liberating, like you've finally taken charge, but you don't realize what you've just done. You've tied your vision to the weight of exposure. You've invited eyes that don't understand your journey to judge it. You've created a silent audience that will now watch, wait, whisper, and weigh in. The pressure doesn't just come from within anymore. It multiplies. Now you're not just fighting your inner fears. You're fighting every hidden opinion, every passive-aggressive comment, every expectant glance that asks, "Aren't you there yet?" And suddenly, the dream that once felt personal, it becomes public property. Every stumble is amplified. Every delay looks like failure. You begin to feel cornered by a crowd that was never rooting for you to begin with. The Stoics taught us something brutal, yet freeing. What is outside our control is not worth our focus. But the moment you declare your goals too early, you open a door to everything beyond your control: judgment, criticism, expectation, chaos. People with no stake in your dream will now feel entitled to an opinion. Like vultures circling a lion that hasn't yet risen, they'll wait, eyes sharp, tongues sharper, every skipped gym day, every fast food order, every small failure gets studied like it's evidence in a trial. Their voices, once quiet, become loud. Their doubts echo louder than your own thoughts. Until suddenly, it's not your dream anymore. It's a performance, a pressure cooker, a battlefield built from glances, gossip, and guesses. I once knew a woman who made this very mistake. She boldly announced her weight loss journey on social media. She wanted support. She wanted to feel inspired. But what she really did was hand her power over to the crowd. With every bite of food, she felt watched. With every workout or skipped workout, she felt judged. People she barely knew started commenting. Some criticized her progress. Others questioned her methods. And the pressure grew, day by day, step by step. What started as her journey slowly became theirs, their opinions, their standards, their noise. And when the noise became louder than her own purpose, she broke. Not because she lacked discipline, not because she didn't want the goal, but because she couldn't hear herself over the crowd. That's the danger of speaking too soon. When you give the world your plan, you also give them a seat at the table of your struggle. She didn't fail because she lacked effort. She failed because the world's opinions became her prison. That's what we often miss. The real threat isn't always failure itself, it's the voices we let in. When you allow others too much access to your inner world, their doubts, expectations, and silent judgments begin to shape your reality. They blur your vision. They bury your clarity under a pile of second-guessing. And suddenly, the path that once felt solid starts to crumble beneath your feet. You were once focused, driven, unshakable, but now you're exhausted, not from the journey, but from carrying. Their eyes on your back, you're no longer guided by your mission. You're distracted by their gaze, pulled off course by whispers that were never meant to guide you in the first place. The Stoics understood this deeply. They knew that silence is not just discipline, it's freedom. What you say can bind you, but what you withhold can set you free. They believed real strength is born from inner stillness, from the calm fire that burns quietly, with a purpose that doesn't need permission. When you share your dreams too widely, you don't just risk misunderstanding, you risk contamination. You allow others to poke holes in your passion, to trample on your vision, to drain your fire, drop by drop, until nothing is left but hesitation. So why expose your goals to those who don't carry the weight with you? Why hand over your vision to critics who are only watching to see you fall? It's not vulnerability, it's betrayal. A betrayal of your own strength, your own purpose. Because real accountability, it doesn't come from strangers. It doesn't come from shallow praise or public performance. It comes from a deeper place. It comes from those who see your growth even when you don't. From the few who believe in your potential, even in your silence. From the rare people who challenge you not to doubt but to rise. The Stoics would urge you, choose your circle carefully. Speak only to those who elevate you. Confide only in those who will sharpen you, not soften your fire. Surround yourself with those who see the greatness in you that you haven't yet dared to claim. Let their belief be your fuel. Let their strength steady your storm. Because when you speak to the wrong audience, you lose your center. But when you speak to the right ones, you become more focused, more dangerous, like a blade forged in silence, aimed with intention. The opinions of strangers are weights you were never meant to carry. Their expectations are invisible chains that lock your movement, choke your momentum. But the right support, the real ones, they don't cage you, they ignite you. And with them behind you, you stop stumbling, you start soaring. Once you surround yourself with the right voices, the ones that lift, not drain, You begin to rise into the person you were always meant to become. So speak, but only to those strong enough to help you carry the weight, never to those who would crumble beneath it, or worse, use it to break you. Privacy protects your peace. Privacy isn't just a defense. It's the heartbeat of your soul, beating quietly beneath the roar of a world addicted to exposure. It's a silent vow whispered to yourself, "You will not touch me." It's not a wall of stone, it's a fortress of fire, built not to hide, but to protect, to guard what's sacred, to remind the world that not everything is for them. When you embrace privacy, you're not retreating, you're declaring war against chaos, against noise, against the constant pull to perform. You're saying, "You will not break me, you will not own me." In a world that rewards oversharing and punishes stillness, choosing privacy is rebellion. It's choosing not to audition for approval. It's refusing to prove your pain to people who never cared to understand it. It's stepping off the stage and walking into your own truth. No more bending to fit someone else's idea of who you should be. No more twisting into shapes just to be accepted by those who will never truly see you. You choose a different road, a quieter one, a freer one that doesn't beg for applause. You reclaim your power, not in noise, but in non-access. Every moment you protect your privacy, you protect your soul. You shield it from the poison of opinions, from the weight of judgments that were never yours to carry. Because when you let them in, they start to shape you. They become the voice in your head, the fear in your chest, the hesitation in your next step. But when you shut them out, when you reclaim your silence, you get it all back. The outside world can scream, but inside you, you become the storm, calm, contained and completely untouchable. That's what privacy does. It gives you back the reins. You decide who gets a glimpse and who remains in the dark, and that is power. You stop performing. You stop explaining. You stop asking for validation from people who couldn't carry your truth for a single second. The Stoics lived by this code. To be free is to be indifferent to the judgment of others. Now, when you stop feeding the noise, you start building your life, your way, quietly, powerfully, without apology. I reached a point in my life where I realized something brutal. I had been leaking my soul everywhere. Too accessible, too visible, too much of myself handed out like it was nothing. So I stopped. I stopped explaining myself. I stopped trying to be understood. I stopped performing for an audience I didn't respect. And in that silence, I found peace. Not a fragile, soft peace, but a deep, undisturbed, feral calm. A stillness so strong, it made me untouchable. The noise faded. The need to be seen vanished. And in that sacred silence, I rose. The world noticed. They saw something shift, but they couldn't explain it. That's the beauty of it. That's the strength. There's unmatched power in keeping your evolution sacred, in guarding your victories, your pain, your transformation, like treasure too valuable to display. You don't owe anyone an explanation. You don't need applause to keep walking forward. You don't need validation to evolve. You don't owe the world your story. Your truth is yours, and yours alone. The world doesn't need to understand your journey. Only you do. Your life, your peace, your soul. These are sacred things. They are not for public consumption. They're not up for debate. They're yours to protect, to hold, to honor, and the opinions of others, they only carry weight if you let them. When you choose privacy, when you choose silence, you become untouchable. You become a fortress not made of walls, but of will. Immovable. Invincible. The Stoics understood this centuries ago. True freedom isn't found in visibility, it's found in resilience, in your ability to stand tall amid the noise, untouched by it. It's about building an invisible wall around your soul and guarding it with everything you have. You are the master of your energy. You are the gatekeeper of your silence. Let the world scream. Let them speculate. They will never reach you because you've chosen to rise beyond their reach. This isn't just about peace. It's about preservation. It's about shielding your spirit from the toxins of comparison, of expectation, of cheap validation. You're becoming something most people will never understand. And that's exactly the point. You are becoming unstoppable, unshakable, unbreakable. And while the world watches, wondering how you've built this calm, this power, this quiet presence, they won't know the secret, but you will. You'll know that in the silence, you forged something they couldn't see. Strength, focus, fire. Because the truth is, you don't owe anyone your process. You don't owe anyone your progress. Every move you make, every step you take, that's yours. To keep, let them stay in the dark. Let them guess. Let them doubt you. That's exactly where you want them. Because silence isn't just a decision. It's your weapon. While they perform, you prepare. While they seek applause, you seek mastery. While they chase attention, you chase legacy. Let them wonder what you're building. Let them question your pace. Let them assume you've disappeared until one day they'll hear the roar of your victory before they ever saw the storm that created it. Until then, stay dangerous in the silence. This is the Stoic way. The Stoic doesn't broadcast his journey. He doesn't beg for recognition. He walks the path, quiet, disciplined, and unwavering. He knows. The only voice he answers to is the one within. Let the world watch. Let them wait. But they'll never see what's coming because his silence will always speak louder than their noise ever could. So now, stay sharp, stay locked in, stay quiet. Because the real ones, they don't talk about it. They become it.